Daryl Kimball is the executive director of the Arms Control Association, a national organization that promotes understanding of and support for effective arms control policies. You just heard Nathan. We heard from Russia, their response, China as well. I want to get your thoughts. What do you think of this?
Well, the U.S. missile test of the ground-launched cruise missile was expected for some time, but the loss of the INF Treaty is a real problem because we could once again have the U.S. and Russia competing to deploy intermediate-range missiles based in Europe, focused on Russia, based in Western Europe, focused on Europe, as well as in the next few years, the possibility, if Congress approves it and if allies agree to host it, U.S. intermediate-range missiles on the ground in Asia. And that would, I think, lead to a new arms race. So the two sides here, the U.S. and Russia, and then the U.S. and China, are on the verge of a new kind of arms race. And the solution is to sit down at the negotiating table to work out some limitations, some arrangements to prevent such an arms race, which no one is going to win.
You just described this scenario, so why is the Trump administration interested in doing this? Because I don't think a lot of people would be embracing the scenario you just described.
No, I don't think they would, but as your report said, Russia had been testing and developing a missile that violated the INF Treaty. That problem was not resolved through diplomacy by Washington and Moscow. Some in the Trump administration, particularly in the military, have been looking for a reason, an excuse, and a way out to develop some new capabilities to counter what they see as China's increasing conventional forces in Asia. So there are different parts of the administration that maybe have different designs. I think the thing that we need to remember is that China has a limited nuclear force of less than 300 weapons. The United States and Russia don't have these types of missiles yet. There's no reason to get into a competition involving intermediate range of missiles that could carry nuclear warheads at some point in the future. It is going to lead to a dead-end arms race for all sides.
You know, this treaty dates back to the days of President Reagan and Gorbachev, and you know, there was a lot of arguments about NAFTA. NAFTA needed to be refitted. Times had changed. Perhaps times had changed with regards to this as well. But walking away and just kind of blowing up the whole thing, to use a poor euphemism, that's not the right approach, is it?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, the Trump administration and the Obama administration before it had their problems with Russia's non-compliance with the treaty, but you don't walk away from an agreement that helped end the Cold War, eliminated an entire class of nuclear-armed missiles without a plan B. And what we have here is we have the door opening to new competition involving these weapons, a lack of dialogue between the U.S. and China on a range of strategic and military issues, a lack of dialogue between the U.S. and Russia on these issues. So it's going to take some time, I think, for all sides to put together some serious arms control options to make sure that we don't get into this kind of arms race, which there is the potential for.
I don't suspect this is going to happen, but if you did get an invitation to the Oval Office and could confer with the U.S. president, what advice would you give him about this?
Well, the advice I would give is that it is useful to engage China in talks on strategic stability, how do we avoid competition, even arms control, but don't abandon this treaty because you're worried about China's capabilities, and don't abandon another treaty we haven't mentioned here, the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty between the U.S. and Russia, which deals with the strategic long-range weapon systems, because China is not a part of that agreement. The best thing to do is to maintain this agreement, the New START treaty with Russia, and in the years ahead, engage in a more robust and serious dialogue with Moscow and with Beijing on military affairs to avoid unnecessary competition, to avoid miscalculation, and the possibility of a new missile race.
Daryl Kimball, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.